Welcome back. This is your GWT2 Energy weekly U.S. weather briefing, geared specifically for restaurant owners and operators. The goal is simple. Highlight the weather that can throw off your week, like storms that disrupt deliveries or outdoor seating, and temperature swings that push your HVAC systems hard and drive up energy costs. This outlook is based on NOAA and National Weather Service data, along with probability-style guidance. And just a level set, when I say extreme temperatures, I'm talking about highs over 95 degrees, lows under 40, or temperatures running about 15 degrees away from what's normal for season. Let's start with the big-ticket severe weather risks. Hurricanes and tornadoes. On the hurricane front, there's nothing lined up to impact the United States. This time of year, it's typical to see essentially no tropical activity threatening the mainland. For the next 7 days, the chance is effectively zero. Out to 14 days, still zero. And even looking 3 weeks out, the probability stays very low, under 5%, meaning some limited tropical development is possible somewhere, but it's very unlikely to become a U.S. impact story. Now, tornado risk. Right now, there are no active tornado watches or warnings across the country. The larger pattern is dominated by colder air, which tends to suppress the kind of instability you need for widespread severe thunderstorms. Over the next week, the chance of any tornado event is very low, under 5%, and there aren't specific cities or states being flagged. In the 14-day window, the probability nudges up a bit, still under 10%. And if anything pops up, it would more likely be in parts of the South if warmer air tries to surge north. Looking out at 21 days, there's a modest increase to roughly a 10 to 15% chance of scattered tornado events in the southeast, places like Florida and Georgia, but the expectation is low intensity overall. So what does that mean operationally? For most restaurants, it suggests minimal disruption from wind damage, widespread closures, or major supply chain impacts tied to severe storms. But weather can change quickly, and a low national risk doesn't eliminate local surprises. If you're scheduling staff, planning deliveries, or relying on patio seating, it's still smart to keep an eye on local National Weather Service alerts in case a quick, localized system develops. The bigger story this week is temperature, specifically cold. We're not dealing with extreme heat right now. No highs above 95 are expected given winter conditions. Instead, the main operational pressure point is lows under 40 degrees, and, in many locations, temperatures well below what's typical for late-season averages. Cold snaps can increase heating demand, stress HVAC components, and create practical building risks like frozen pipes, which can quickly become a kitchen and restroom problem. Here's a 7-day forecast, and this is the highest confidence portion of the outlook, roughly 80 to 90% confidence overall. Expect widespread sub-40-degree lows and cold anomalies around 15 degrees below normal across much of the southeast and Midwest, with parts of the Northeast also involved. In Texas, for example, places like Houston could see lows roughly in the 20s to 30s, running 15 to 20 degrees colder than average. Across Alabama, Birmingham may be in the 25 to 35 range, about 15 degrees below typical. Georgia is similar, with Atlanta also in the mid-20s to mid-30s and running well below normal. The Carolinas, including areas like Charlotte, can dip closer to the 20s to around 30, again about 15 to 20 degrees under seasonal norms. And in the Midwest, Chicago could see lows in the 10 to 20 range, about 15 degrees below average. This cold air mass is significant enough that cold-related warnings are affecting a very large portion of the population, on the scale of tens of millions. From a restaurant operations standpoint, the most likely impacts over the next week are a heating demand jump that can land in the 20 to 30% range, higher utility bills, and a greater risk of HVAC issues if equipment is already marginal. And don't overlook plumbing. The colder it gets, the more you should be thinking about pipe protection, especially in older buildings, exterior walls, and any exposed lines near service areas. Moving into a 14-day window, confidence drops to a medium range, around 60 to 70% overall. The general theme is that cold conditions hang on, particularly across the eastern half of the country, but they should gradually moderate. You can still see sub-40 lows and pockets running 10 to 15 degrees below average. Parts of the Northeast, including the New York and New Jersey area, could see lows in the mid-20s to mid-30s, with some locations still notably below normal. Even the Florida Panhandle can flirt with the 30s to around 40, potentially running well under average at times. Operationally, this 2-week period suggests continued HVAC strain, but with more opportunities for brief thaws, which can reduce the most severe risks, like deep freezes that drive emergency repairs. Still, in the Southeast in particular, there remains a meaningful chance of continued cold episodes, so it's not the time to assume winter is easing for good. Looking out to the 21-day horizon, confidence moves lower in the low to medium range, roughly 40 to 50% overall. The pattern is expected to trend closer to seasonal norms, but cold pulses remain possible, especially in the east and south. Texas and Oklahoma could see periods where lows fall into 30s to around 40, sometimes 10 to 15 degrees below average. And in the Northeast, including areas like Boston, there's still potential for occasional cold dips into the 20s to around 30, with brief stretches running notably below normal. For restaurants, the practical takeaway for weeks 2 and 3 is to stay flexible. You may not have nonstop extreme cold, but intermittent outbreaks can still hit staffing, delivery timing, guest demand, and energy usage. A late cold surge can be particularly disruptive because people relax their preparation and then get caught off guard. So what should you do right now? First, treat HVAC as an operational priority. If you haven't done a quick check recently, this is the week. Filters, thermostats, rooftop unit performance, and any obvious airflow issues. Second, think about freeze prevention. If your building has vulnerable plumbing, make sure you know where the shutoffs are, confirm insulation where possible, and keep an eye on areas that tend to get drafty. Third, plan for business impacts. Extreme cold can reduce foot traffic, and it's reasonable to anticipate a dip on the order of 10 to 20% during the harshest days, depending on your market and whether you rely on walk-in or dine-in traffic. And lastly, take a look at resiliency. If you've experienced outages before, review your backup plan, whether that's a generator, a contingency menu, or a strategy for protecting refrigeration and inventory if the power flickers during peak cold demand. If you want more details, or you're looking for ways to reduce energy spikes during these cold stretches, you can find resources at gwd2energy.com or reach out at support at gwd2energy.com. As always, remember that weather forecasts can shift, and this briefing is informational, not an official warning. For real-time, location-specific alerts, rely on your local National Weather Service office at weather.gov. That's the week ahead. Stay warm, stay prepared, and I'll see you in the next update.